Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, some Zebec news has come out, but before we jump into it, listen, make sure you watch the video I put out earlier today. I know it's going to be the first one out. I am pre-recording this by just a little bit because I am going with the family for rock climbing and such. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I need you guys to make sure you're locked in for this altcoin season. Some of you guys are new and some of you guys just don't understand how this works. They're going to try to manipulate you. Okay. They're going to try to manipulate you. They're going to try to shake you out. And in the first video that I, posted today, they're going to try to manipulate you. And I show proof of it happening last cycle. Okay. So you have to make sure that you are calm, you are patient and level headed. Okay. But make sure you watch that video because it's going to be a huge psychology video. All you have to do is practically listen for 95% of it. Anyways, let's just jump right into the Zebec network. So we can see Simon X Simon Spaces is here. Join us this Friday for Zebec X Uphold countdown to tip off as our CEOs dive into how we're teaming up into Q4. So we're probably going to get some big, nice news, September 26th, 11 a.m. EST. So it's probably going to be some big news because anything with Uphold, we've seen the way they've been teasing. I mean, stadiums, NFL. What else? Hockey. I don't know if that's just the same thing. Did I just potato? NFL and NHL. No, not NHL. NBA. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But anyways, basketball and hockey, ladies and gentlemen. I'm leaving this in because here we like to be, a little bit funny sometimes, a little bit chilled back. Ladies and gentlemen, the time to get serious is now. The next few months are going to be the most crucial time of your lives. Okay. We're going to have crypto exploding. And this is the time to get a portfolio review. Right? You got to make sure you have the right cryptos. You don't want any old or dead coins, or you don't want anything that can give you little profits, right? So we provide a portfolio review. We've also been smashing it with the high probability meme coins. We hit an 11x, an 8x, and 5.5x in recent times. We also provide a weekly report on the crypto data, on the crypto analysis, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, on other altcoins as well. You get all this and a bunch more other benefits. Highly recommend joining the private community. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some money. Anyways, we have a video here from Mr. Zebec. So we're going to play this and we're going to dissect this. Let's just see what our boy has to say.
There are 45 million Americans who own Bitcoin, Ether, Dogecoin, decentralized finance assets right now. 75% of them are under 35 years old. So that cohort really likes to have their Bitcoin mixed with their dollars, if you will. And then $380 billion was sent overseas from paychecks in 2024 to just 5 countries by American workers. But those two types of people who own Bitcoin or Ether or Dogecoin, and people who are sending international remittances have to pay very large fees to move those currencies in and out of fiat and or other currencies. And what stablecoin will do is it will eliminate the friction, make those payments immediate, and make them almost free. So stablecoin is really important for those two cohorts in particular. And as a result, payroll providers like Assure really need to consider stablecoin a must-have for 2026.
So we can see, ladies and gentlemen, right? So he practically, nothing was here too complicated to dissect, but he practically said they are trying to cut down on the fees and the time it takes to pretty much transfer and, all with stablecoin. So, they're trying to innovate, they're trying to make the game better. And this is an obvious, W. Here's the thing. We obviously know nobody likes fees in life. Nobody really likes taxes. People will say they do or whatever, but let's be honest. We all want more money in our pockets one way or another, right? So if you can reduce taxes, if you can reduce fees, if you could speed things up in life, people like efficiency. People like to have their money in their pocket. And this is exactly what he's talking about. And, if there's a lot of adoption in 2026, ladies and gentlemen, I know some people think we're just going to get the pump in Q4 and that's it. I have a feeling it's going to last a little bit longer. I feel honestly, with the data we're getting now, that what people expected in 2025, where we're kind of going to get good Q4, good Q1, and then we're going to end somewhere, maximum in mid Q2. I feel like that's going to happen now. I feel like we're going to have a good quarter four. And if we have a good quarter four, there's no reason really to have a bad quarter one and maybe even a quarter two, depending on the context of the charts. So yeah, man, I feel like 2026, at least the first half of the year is going to be a banger. I don't think the whole year would be a banger, to be honest, with the way the data is saying. In fact, there's probably going to be a very, very, very big crash. So we just got to be, careful about that when the time comes. But I know you guys don't even care that much because a lot of your altcoins are in the trenches, anyways, right? It's Zebec. Zebec is doing fairly good, generally speaking, especially that I know a good amount of people bought, let's just say, below this zone here and even down here, right? But even if you bought in recent times, right? Boom, if we take it from the top to the literal bottom, like the last relevant bottom, that is, we can see, ladies and gentlemen, you're still at a discount, right? You're still at a discount. If you're buying right now, you're buying roughly for like a 63, 64% discount from the top. So yeah, there's still some way to go up. And if you bought the literal top, don't worry. I would not worry about a project like Zebec. Um, I believe this. Me, I'm super high in this coin. I truly do believe, with the way we're moving, we could seriously hit that 40 billion market cap, 35 billion, 45 billion market cap, that roughly that 40 cents. I truly do believe so. Apologies if you hear my dog barking in the background. It just happens sometimes, the dog goes crazy. But listen, yeah, let's talk about the technical analysis, ladies and gentlemen. We can see, right, I'm going to remove this big chart right here. We can see that we are overall in this triangle, okay? And even if we go down, ladies and gentlemen, right, even if we go down, even if the markets try to fake out, at the end of the day, we have to make a choice, right? Even if, whether we get a sweep and we go like this, or we just kind of go like this, where we just go down and then kind of up like this, it doesn't matter too much, right? Do not worry too much about the micro moves. Um, you know, the reason why the markets even sold off on Friday is because there were options expiring, people. And guess what? Manipulation happened, right? So it's just a classic. It's just a classic, right? They know people are going to make money or they want to make money. They're close to making money. And what do? They screw over people. Okay. That is just the way the markets work. It is very, very hard to win with leverage trading, with option trading when it comes to these crypto markets because they literally see the data. They know. So if there's too many winners, ladies and gentlemen, they will screw you over. I know, sounds sad, sounds crazy, but then this is like practically the only industry really where you can make a 10x, 20x. You can make insane money off of memes, right? This is like the only industry you can make like a joke. You're literally making money off a joke, right? This is like the only industry. So there's ups and downs with this industry. There's lots of manipulation. There's even rug pulls and stuff. But then we also have amazing projects like Zebec that come out and really do prove their worth. And ladies and gentlemen, overall, even though it's not at the lowest of low points, overall, this is a great time to be dollar cost averaging because once we not only break, but we must hold, okay, because that's very important because sometimes we might break, but then we just fake down. We must hold. Once we do that, I truly do believe that's kind of the end. Like, there's no reason to have a full on other correction like this, right? It wouldn't even make sense. It would not even make sense with the way things are aligning. Um, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think. There are some nice, key zones over here that we're looking to take out once we flip, right? Once we flip, we have so much liquidity that we're going to be looking to be contesting the highs. That is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.